So, I have been working on FE, extroverted feeling, pretty intensely the last year or so. You're supposed to develop it around your mid to late 30s, early 40s, but I want FE now. I want a handle on it now. Because I need a handle on it now. I can't live in isolation the way I was. That was unhealthy. And to survive, because unfortunately you can't just live off in a cabin somewhere. You need to integrate with society. If you don't have FI, you don't have TE, you need to use that FE, even if it's your inferior. I need to integrate with people. Because others' moods have always affected me in the first place. So, one, I need to get a better grasp on not letting others' moods control me and control my mood, while also managing to fit in a way that makes sense. Right now, I think I am developing the tools to fit in ways that don't make sense. Which means, yes, I can integrate, but no, people's or others' moods still do affect me, they still do control me, and not a lick of it makes sense. From the inside, looking out, or maybe the INTP's perspective, but I know some INTPs feel this way, I know others don't, but to me, before I started working on myself, in the integrating with others sense, my mindset was, or the way everything seemed was, everyone around me, or everyone out in the world are organisms. They aren't like people you can connect with, or people who care about you, or anything like that. They're just organisms, because we're living in hell, right? And I still contend we are living in hell. But I didn't put myself around anyone because I hated them and they hated me, and it was easier just to be 100% isolated than it was to try and make sense of something that is incomprehensible. Now that I've been working on FE more, connecting with people, still letting their moods affect me, but having more of a say over how their moods go, that integration is happening. But again, it doesn't make any sense. And those moments of common humanity do not come from interacting with people. They come from weird moments in isolation. So, snapshot of the way everything looks right now. Again, everyone or most other people still seem just like organisms, but interaction is happening regularly. It's not just observing them from the outside, it's being in with them and among them. And it's frightening because when I was in isolation, I really didn't need to worry about anyone seeing me and seeing, that something isn't clicking. And full video on it, antigen. Recognizing your boy as an antigen in a system that needs to be purged. That anxiety was there, but it really wasn't because I was disconnected. Now that everything has happened and I'm working on everything, People can recognize you as an antigen and break into your home and shoot you to death if they don't like you. Uh, you can't just sit idly by and not fit in. That that's death. That's doom. You do that, someone will come knocking. The Reaper will come knocking and purge you from the system. You can't do that anymore. So now you're in the like a puddle with organisms on a petri dish. So what's different now is not just being in and among other people. It is, or just interacting with other people. Those interactions are happening. You're seeking them out and making them happen, and other people are seeking you out and making them happen. And occasionally, on the gooey surface of these organisms, you can see like impressions of human faces pushing against them, and you have something resembling what you think should be a normal human interaction that works. You both are clicking and you're fitting in, and it makes sense. And then it goes away, and then it goes away. But you're still having those moments, which never really happened before. It's difficult because I think it has something to do with TI, maybe. The only types I've encountered which really make sense in a I see these people, these are other humans, these are in fact other human beings, and they are creating sentences which make sense, are TPs. Not even always then, but NTPs in particular, STPs a lot of the time. Most other interactions, or just being around, have you ever watched Samurai Jack? Do you remember how impossible it was to build a foundation of understanding in that show? None of the episodes are connected. Every single episode takes place in a completely different place, looks completely different cultures, different styles, different designs, people talk differently, people think differently. You can't build a foundation of understanding, or you can't cement a foundation to build understanding from. That's sort of how it feels. It's like, imagine you're walking around and every single conversation is like Oblivion dialogue, memes. And you're trying to figure out how to click with these people when nothing makes sense and you don't really even have the tools to begin understanding how to make it make sense. But you need to, because if you don't, you'll die. Someone will come and kill you if you don't figure this out. So you're working on it. Some success here and there. And remember, we're operating under the assumption we're either in hell, preparing for something more, which is why we're working on ourselves and trying to become the best people we can be, or we're in purgatory, doing the exact same thing, but generally life isn't good and life isn't meant to be very good. Life isn't meant to feel very good. Everything is designed to be a confusing challenge you're unable to contend with. But you need to, so you can rise above and become that better person and move on to do those better things. I bring that up because not only are you dealing with the organisms you were sort of just observing, like from an aquarium from afar, detached, you're also dealing with demons directly now. As in, when we were thinking about life being hell, there were people who, or there are people who are being punished, or are sort of just there, and then there are demons, actual demons, people, who, if this is hell, they are built for hell. They are built to be miserable and to make other people miserable. And if this is purgatory and not hell, then they are on a no return flight, one-way ticket trip to hell. And you're dealing with these people also, right? These are the people who will come and shoot you. They don't like you. These are the people who use force against each other. They hate each other. They hate everyone. And organisms are like that too sometimes, right? But there's a distinct line between shitty organism and demon. And the people who will spot you as an antigen and snuff you out of the system. Trying to work on FE, understanding other people and integrating with them, is that anxiety that you will run into demons and they will kill you, remove you from the system. And I've talked about this in previous videos years ago, but still, point remains, those old nightmares I'd have, in which everything would sort of be fine, everything is cool, actually, everything is making sense. I am around people who make sense, doing things that make sense, and connecting on a human level. And then, out of nowhere, some kind of switch flips, and you realize everyone you're around you don't recognize, and they don't recognize you, and you are not supposed to be there, and they know you're not supposed to be there, and they identify you as something to be removed, and they're staring at you with those blank, dead eyes, and then they remove you from the system. That sort of anxiety builds up every single time you interact with organisms, even when you're trying to connect with them, or even if you're having positive interactions with them, because you're terrified what happens if that switch flips and, like, maybe they don't like the way you look, maybe they don't like the way you smell, and they decide this person is an antigen that needs to be removed, and then your life is over. And because you're interacting with people, you're running into the demonic sorts of people, the demons, who are probably the sort of people who will do it. It's frightening, because the longer it takes you to make sense of anything, the more blindly you are stumbling into and through situations which could be rigged for you to fail, and you don't even know it. Or you know that it's happening, but you don't even know where to begin learning what you should be looking for. It's very, very stressful. But you must, one, because if you don't, one of the demonic people will shoot you, or lock you up forever, or something along those lines. And B, for me anyway, I think I need to. If the extroverted feeling sense didn't matter, I wouldn't be so concerned about it all the time. So because I am concerned about it, it is something I need to figure out. But why? Not just it's a sense that's bothering you, but why, or what is there to be gained by working on integrating with society, if you want to call it that, extroverted feeling, if you want to call it that, or maybe even whatever your inferior function is. Because I suspect others' inferior functions operate similarly in their noggins in different ways, but sort of that same blindness, maybe. So, what is there to gain by mastering your inferior function, or mastering yourself, or integrating with society, or working on whatever your seemingly insurmountable problem is? Well, firstly, for hypothetical's sake, you don't believe in higher powers or purpose or anything like that. Improving yourself is always useful. Unless you intend to die and accomplish nothing, to be nothing, and to be, I want to say forgotten, but less than nothing, because everyone gets forgotten if you don't believe in anything. Self-improvement is always useful. 2, slipping back into, yes, anime god is really good. I'm feeling it. On that more abstracted level, building yourself up to become something better, to better fulfill your purpose, isn't just good, as in this is something worth doing, but it feels good. Really does feel good. Usually, when you have that sense of purpose in yourself, you're helping other people by improving yourself. Because if you aren't the best person you can be, you can't help anyone do anything. And righteousness, right. Sticking to righteousness, that feeds back into both of those, but following what you sense is the right thing to do, even if you can't put into words why, usually feels good. It usually ends up being the right decision. They're usually positive outcomes, even if the decision hurts, doesn't feel good, isn't easy. It's still worth doing. It's still righteous. And then 3, the point I've been thinking about, especially in terms of, or because of working on extroverted feeling, is eventually meeting those other people who are not organisms. I mean, ideally, working on FE enough, people will stop looking like organisms, will start looking like people, being like people. They'll make sense. You can understand them. It isn't like Samurai Jack Hell universe where nothing at all ever makes sense. That would be good to fix. But meeting the people who, even despite that, are human beings who are working on themselves, do have light in their souls, are following whatever righteous path they're attuned to. I'm convinced they exist. And meeting them and everything makes sense because it was designed to make sense. Or it was meant to make sense. Whatever might be going on in the background, everything clicks, and it's effortless. And you don't need to force yourself to pretend to be anyone, to fake anything, to wield any of your cognitive functions at them or with them. Which, by the way, working on your cognitive functions really does feel like practicing some kind of martial art or something. It feels like weapon mastery once you have a handle on your cognitive functions, especially your inferior. But in this instance, you don't need to use them, wield your functions. with these people. They just make sense. They just click. And you can cooperate toward mutually beneficial goals. I still sense that can happen. I still sense that exists, and I think it's meant to. Even though, for me, right now, and one of the reasons I'm making this video is because this organism shit is really distressing the more I work on FE. It just makes sense. There is an effortlessness to it in that righteous vein. And even though things are hard now, seem insane now, insurmountable now, eldritch horror, the more you try, the more you go insane now, it does pay off. I still think it does. When I'm thinking about the world or what's happening and why it's happening, to me, it's like puzzle pieces, right? We're building a very large, confusing puzzle, but eventually, once you fit enough pieces together in a concrete way, which makes sense, other parts of the puzzle which haven't been put together are like water or sludge or slime, and they're shifting and they're fucking confusing and gross and awful. There are points inside that concrete, cemented sense that you know there are supposed to be there is a puzzle piece that is supposed to fit here. There are other puzzle pieces that are supposed to fit here, here, and here, and they aren't there yet. But we can't be doing this puzzle unless they fit, and I think they exist. We just haven't found them and slotted them in yet. But they should. I think they do, because even though everything else is really confusing, it might take 3 years to get one useless, not really useless, but seemingly useless or irrelevant puzzle piece into place. Those puzzle pieces do solidify and start fitting where they're supposed to. So I think part of developing yourself and following that righteous path and becoming your best self, even though it's not easy, it's not fun, it's hard, it hurts, it doesn't make sense, it will make sense. There is a puzzle, and everything will line up, because things over time with effort do start lining up. Like that Sully meme, the Monsters Inc. one with Sully, and he goes, yeah, yes, that's how I'm feeling. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. And I did. Older style video. Needed to make sense of a few things, and one of the nice things about YouTube is once you have spoken something into existence, those confusing elements are easier to solidify. So yes, did enjoy making this one. Little distressing, especially recently, but things are on the upswing. We're fixing things. Things are getting better. Doesn't feel that way sometimes, but it is. They are. Like if you enjoyed, because that helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. What are you dealing with? What are you working on? What are you struggling with? How do you feel about it? What do you think about it? I'm curious. The more perspective we pick up and put in our baskets, the more tools we have to make sense of our own garbage. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Really, we have a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact. So much fun, in fact, you can put it in some dirt and plant it. I am practicing planting things right now. An organism, a friendly organism, gave me some plants to work on, which is cool. I'm looking forward to seeing how those turn out. You can plant that fun and grow it. Boys, but that's how much fun we have on this channel, and I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.